Hi, I'm Megan, and I'm here with Frank Holloman with Showing Hero, and this is our second episode of the Credible Business Series. And in this series, we're here to talk to business owners to find out what sets them apart, why customers trust them, and what makes them stand out in their market and what makes them credible. And so that's what Frank and I are going to do today. Thank you so much for joining us, Frank.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Frank is the co-founder of Showing Hero, and so we're going to go over and just talk about a couple of things to learn a little bit more about Showing Hero. And the first question I like to ask is, what does the business do in a nutshell, and who do you serve?
Got it. So I could go into like the granular aspect and bore people to sleep, but I mean, considering the atmosphere, let's try to kind of like jazz it up a little bit, I guess, right? So the idea is quite simple in terms of if we rewind the tape 10, 15 years ago in property management, folks are beating their head up against the wall because they are trying to answer phone calls, messages back and forth, emails, all this stuff, right? So fast forward to around 2017, 19 range, showing automation really took off, which is, a part of this equation. And my co-founders started the process where basically, rather than prospects interacting directly with agents and having to go through that process, the property management company could literally choose along the way whatever automation they would want, up to including, back and forth communication where our system has the ability to take over and walk people through the showing experience, all the way up to actual self-tours and finalizing and then following up with applications, all things like that. So obviously there's a lot of branches and there's a lot of verticals off of that or whatnot. But in terms of the core, that's what we do. That's kind of how it came to be.
Essentially, Showing Hero is an automation for the leasing process and it's completely customizable to whatever that specific property manager's leasing process is.
Yep, and definitely that would be something we definitely want to make sure we broadcast out to the world, and we can talk more about that. But that is the big thing. It's not something where it's like a cookie cutter process. What it is it's like, okay, here, I mean, the truth of the matter is there's no such thing, and out of all the clients we've ever had, and I imagine all the clients we will have, no two property management businesses are set up the same way. So it really can't be a cookie cutter experience. It's got to be something where you have customization you can mold into a business, and that's basically kind of like the core of this is like our ability to use our software and be like, okay, based on everything that we just heard with our discovery with you, we should use this element, this element, this element, and then move forward. And then if we need to, worst case, like after the first onboarding, second onboarding, something like that, we can pivot, we can add, we can take away. There's all sorts of different ways to look at it. So don't want to put the cart before the horse, but yeah, that's kind of the deal.
No, great, that's awesome. Yeah, I mean, it's specifically for anything in the property management field. When we have guests on the show, that was the same thing last time. I've been in that field for 8 years, so I hear it a different way. And the ability to customize the leasing process can be such a huge pain in the butt and take up so much of your time and so much of your energy, and you can answer so many pointless phone calls and just deal with people a pointless amount. And so it's very valuable to have a software that is that customizable and that flexible, because when we go to those conferences, you talk to property manager after property manager, you're right, no two are the same, and that is for sure. So you're one of the co-founders. Why did you start Showing Hero? What made you passionate enough to start a business?
So let me be as accurate as humanly possible, because there is a story that goes with this, right?
Okay.
So we have the original co-founders. I say it this way, not directed at Megan whatsoever, because it's true. We're all three co-founders. It's just there's different elements of it, right? So sure. Z and Asif originated. So Z, CFO, Asif, the original CEO of Showing Hero. The origin of the two of them, they've known each other for many, many years. They separately own their own property management businesses.
Right.
And so where it all started was they saw this gap pretty early on to say, well, wait on a second. It's almost a similar concept of it's 2026. Like, how do we do things differently now? Which I'm sure we'll talk about later. But, back then it was like, wait a second, hold on. why are we doing this? Why are we beating our heads? Like, this should not be happening, and there should be an easier way to do this. So
Yeah.
it was a combination of think tank and, brainstorming to say, hey, look, we have this expertise. How do we convert this expertise and care? Like, we're talking like really deep ingrained relationships that, Z and Asif, started with and still have to this day, by the way, to
Yeah.
be able to kind of, pivot that into, well, look, we can do this. Like, we can do this for ourselves. And then, we can provide this for other people too. Like, we can still run our own property management businesses, but why not do this for ourselves first? And then if we can perfect it, let's let everybody else use it as well. And that's literally, what happens. So I'm sure there's Z would put it a little bit of a different way. Asif would put it a little bit different way. But me being kind of like the one that came in right after that, it's probably the best way that I could summarize it, in a nice little package to say, this is what happened. This is where it came from.
I gotta say, I feel like some of the best businesses and best vendor relationships we've had in the property management space have come from property managers, because no one knows the pain, no one knows the gaps like a property manager. And really, truly, unless you've lived it, you just don't know specifically what's missing. And it's so cool to see that with VirtuallyIncredible. It was similar. Home property management used virtual assistants through VirtuallyIncredible before anyone else did. And it's really cool too when you're able to test it on your own business. So you're the one that sees the holes first, and then once you get it all squared away, then you offer it to the public, there's just a notable difference when a property manager is a vendor.
And it's a blessing and a curse, right? Because it's like, okay, the blessing side of it is, okay, awesome, we have this ability. The curse side is, and I don't want to be like negative Nancy, but it's like, but we're also testing this on our business. So it's like anything that goes wrong, we have to sustain that. We have to live through that, So it's not like a nasty double-edged sword, right? It's not like, oh my gosh, like this side is equally sharp as the other. It's just that innately, you almost want to, you can't, right? You can't shout to the rooftops and you can't communicate out to people, well, we're feeling this. Like, we're feeling the testing of this. Like, you can't do that. I mean, maybe in a way you could, and try to hint at the people, especially if you have really good relationships. But it's like, that also breeds, I mean, you don't want to use the word perfection, but it also breeds as close to, what you would want it to be in terms of perfection. Because if you're living it and you can, work through it well enough, then that it's like, and you're picky, right? Like, I'm picky, Z's picky, Megan's picky, like whoever, then hopefully the outcome of that would be that pickiness for your own company would resolve with other businesses.
Yeah. I mean, you're not gonna, if it's not closing the gap for the purpose that you started it, then you're not going to start advertising it to other management companies, because it's also your colleagues at the end of the day. So there's just a lot more heart in it when it comes to property management to property manager.
You can't have your buddies and your acquaintances reaching out to you later saying, what did you have? Like, I pitched this, I talked about this, whatever. It's like, no, I promise it does what it says it's supposed to. No, I'm kidding. That's not.
I will say though, working in VirtuallyIncredible versus working in home property management, dealing B2B rather than B2C is like a walk in the park, because when someone has a problem B2B, it's like, we all handle it like adults. When you have a problem C2B, it's like, you never know what you're going to get. So it is refreshing that even if there is a little bit of because there's always, I mean, we're humans, there's going to be errors, there's going to be issues. It's nice to work with adults.
And I'm dating myself here, and I don't want to get off on a crazy tangent, but the reality for me, I think it's a little bit different potentially with Z or even Asif, but for me, the majority of my career has been B2B. And in a twisted way, it's been reversed for me. So like, when you're younger, you go in and maybe you work and I'm really rewinding tapes, right? But it's like, maybe you work at Walmart, you work at a gas station or whatever back in the day, and you understand that consumer experience more. Where it bridges is that, like, for the property manager aspect, it's like you need to intimately know your clients and prospects at the same time, like equally, and live and breathe everything that they're doing. And if there's anything that I've learned by proxy through those two, it's that is a core truth. Like if you're missing the mark with how prospects operate and their needs and wants from market to market, coast to coast, it almost doesn't, I mean, it does matter, but it almost doesn't matter how strong you are with your clients, because then it's like the clients are going to be like, well, I like you a lot, but my prospects are, they're reaching out to me. So it's like, okay, we have to have that
so
really
true.
strong balance between the two. Yeah.
Yeah, it's such an interesting industry. Honestly, you have to be good at I've run into as a property manager, such unique nightmares. And you really do have to be good at a lot of different things.
Yeah. We love you all, though. If this,
yes,
if
we
this
do.
Makes it out there, we love you all.
There's just so much room for, there's like, even if you're doing a great job, it's like you're a problem solver all the time, and people get mad at the problem. So there's going to be problems every day. So it's something you get used to. In the space of showing softwares, there's a few that I can think of off the top of my head. So why have you found that customers choose Showing Hero over competitors?
Yeah, I think we touched on it a little bit, in terms of the core functionality aspect. But one of the things with Showing Hero that honestly, it's not to say that there's anything, we would never say there's anything wrong with, competition out there. But one of the things that we know that we do is customization, modularity. It's like, we technically can offer an out-of-the-box solution. It's possible. 9 out of 10 times, is that going to be what our client actually wants? I would say no. It needs to be more of like a diagnostic experience. And it's not like if we set the parameters, if we set the type of conversation and the environment correctly, before we start everything, we literally set up and say, look, this is what we're going to do. We're going to diagnose with you what's going on with your business, because again, full circle, no property management business is the same. So how do we look at one of our silos or 3 of our silos or all of our silos to say, okay, based on everything that we've worked through together, all the different things, here is your playbook. And then based on that playbook and based on all the different aspects and what we can do from beginning to end in the process, fraud, reviews, like all the different things that we can help with that are most important to a business, we should be able to pull from those silos to be able to work with, versus again, like being a cookie cutter or out of the box. So, and P.S., I don't say that in any way, shape, or form to assume that other businesses are that way. I promise it's not from that scope. It's more just like, I know that's what our clients say to us. That's what they say.
The feedback.
Exactly. Like, so I wanted to give that caveat, because I've got, I got nothing bad to say to the folks out there.
No, well, I know one thing's for sure. And being on the, I work with VI, and then I've been a property manager. On both sides, there's opportunity to customize per client. And the fear in customizing per client is just error. Like, the reason people don't do it, or they draw a line in the sand with it, is that they're wanting to be able to fulfill what they're promising. And the more customizations you get in there, the more complicated that is. And so when a company can really master customization and back it, it's valuable, especially when, like you said, there's no 2 property management companies that have the same process. You'd think that they would, but no, absolutely not. In different markets, different systems. So
you touched on something perfectly there, because it does transition into the human element. So we are committed to never lose that, even though we see how the environment is likely taking us, which hint, nod, nod, it's probably something we'll talk about at some point. But I don't see us losing that aspect. So what I mean by that is every single client, every single new client, even, prospective businesses that are looking to work with us, they should know individuals by name, at different points. They should know my name. They should know about the co-founders and the availability that we have, even when it comes to maybe not even the showing experience. I mean, I don't want to take it too far, but we literally have conversations outside of the showing experience all the time, to be able to talk about the entire industry and to help, businesses, whether they're new or maybe they've plateaued. And it's like, that's not a part of our core model, but that's a part of what we do. So you wrap that in with the customer service aspect of the human element. We're going to continue to work with businesses, every day. We don't just kind of like set you to the side and say, okay, well, good luck.
Yeah.
It is a give and take, scenario. So yeah.
That is an element that is so easy to just lose in this day and age. So it's very valuable to keep that around, and just especially, and I know I could be beating a dead horse, but with someone, it's more interesting and more, I could see why you'd naturally want to keep more connection with your clients when you understand them so well. when like you understand the whole process. Like if somebody wasn't in the property management field and didn't know the whole thing, they just knew this little part of it, they're not going to be as interested or be able to stay in tune with the rest of the picture the way that a property manager can. So,
and you're talking about tangent. I'll sum this up really fast, but that was a part
no, go for it.
When I was brought into Showing Hero, I'm not going to say it was like a boot camp necessarily, but purposely, Z and Asif, when they brought me along, however many years ago now, wow, like what, 4 years ago, almost 5 years ago now, it was almost throwing in, feet first, head first, whatever you want to call it, because that's kind of like what it is. That's what property management is. And I think that if you don't fully understand what that feels like, then it's difficult. I mean, you can think of all sorts of different, products or different offerings that exist out there. And if the individuals, I'm sure there are individuals that do really well at what they do, but to your point, just to kind of put a button on it from the thought from my head, it's yes, the most successful ones out there are the ones that truly, like, they have lived it, or they have forced themselves to live it, almost like method acting. Like, I'm going to go be homeless for 5 days, so I know how to act like a homeless person, You know what I mean? So it's like, yeah, you got to know. I think you really got to know.
Trial by fire is the only way. The only way to learn. So this one's, I find this question to be a little cheesy, but I think it's necessary given that this is the Credible Business series. Yep. What does being a credible business mean to you? It may be cheesy, but I think it's important.
I mean, you got to stick with brand, right? You got to stick with the brand. I mean, I think you kind of have to define, what credible means. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, again, it's kind of interesting because, again, I would think that if you line up 100 property management companies, you might have 3 or 4 of them that have a similar definition of what credible means. Does credible mean that you say that you move a prospect from A to Z? So you start them at the property management software, you move them through the process. And I say this half kidding or mostly kidding, I should say, because you don't do this, but I'm the property manager. I kick my feet up on the desk and I just wait for prospects to come through. That nobody actually expects that. But what I'm saying is that the level of credibility? Is it saying like, okay, I'm credible because I say that and then that's what I do, right? But I guess in terms of the core question, I mean, you have to stick to those core values. Now, will the core values shift as the technology shifts and whatnot? I mean, maybe, but if you stick with that and you kind of, you're always in tune with, the feeling of how businesses are run. I mean, I obviously I'm subjective here. I'm not objective, but I don't know if there is a better credibility that you can stick with. And maybe that's out of turn. Maybe I shouldn't say that because I'm saying it about myself. I'm saying it about the business, but it's like, that, you know what I mean? Like that credibility does come from doing what you say, saying what you do. And as long as people see that and that you can show that you're doing that, it's like, let's go.
I think, yeah, you make a good point. Credibility is going to mean something different to everybody, and expectations are gonna, of what that means is gonna be a huge indication whether or not you're meeting that standard for somebody. But I would say that it kind of ties you back to the reason that you said customers choose you, and that would be customization. So like, in a way, it's like, what makes us credible for you? Like, what do you need from us? And then let us do that. But I will say universally, as someone who's been running a management company, if I were to put like one, and you mentioned it, if I were to put one value on a vendor, it'd be like, don't tell me you're going to do something and then not do it. Like, don't overpromise and underdeliver. And I think many people would throw that somewhere in the definition of credible, is like, when we have our demo, you're going to tell me what you're going to do, and that's actually what you're going to do. But you made a very good point. Past that, it's going to differ for every person based on expectations. So I feel like there's so much to be said for in-depth onboarding and really taking the time on the front end. Just like taking the time on the front end with the tenant when you're screening them is going to save you so much headache in the long run. Taking your time with the vendor on the front end on both sides is going to save everyone a lot of headache in the end, for sure. Expectations are everything.
To that point, if you're able to do both of the things you just mentioned at the same time, which is very literally what we intend to do and what we do. I mean, you just mentioned, it's a perfect, analogy, but it's not even an analogy. It's like the reality. It's like we are able to, prep those we're doing a pre-screening process, and that pre-screening process is set forth by the property management company, but they don't have to do that anymore. They don't have to walk people through that. They don't have to do the qualifications. It's they place their qualifications in place. Picking up on one thing you said, I want to make sure ad nauseum, whether it's anybody in our business that is an employee by now, any of our clients, any of the prospective folks that have ever wanted to work with us, I guarantee you they are tired of hearing me say the phrase that you just said, which is over-promising and under-delivering. That is every single time that we talk with them, we double-check and we make sure, and myself probably being the number one culprit, hopefully in a good way. Like, if you ever feel, like, we literally ask this, like, if you ever feel that we've overpromised and underdelivered, I'm begging you, please, like, throw me on the bus. Reach out to me directly. I might cry for 5 minutes knowing that I did that, but I'll get past it. I'll feel better, right? And then we can make things better. So,
well, feedback's so important, because you don't see, as business owners and operators, you don't always see it's hard because you're in the thick of it. You're in the day-to-day. It's hard to feel the consumer perspective of it. And so that's why feedback is so important. And it's why, even though it's not always fun to hear, it's so important to be open to it, so that you're aware if somebody is interpreting something that you're saying, that like, hey, you're going to get X, Y, and Z, and they feel like they only got Y and Z. But I feel like that's something that is definitely universal. So what are your non-negotiables as a business owner when it comes to making sure that you are being credible to your clients?
I think that every individual person that our clients work with, they need to feel that with every interaction. So for example, like if somebody submits a client success ticket or a customer service ticket, either way you want to call it, we ask for feedback on every single one of them, just like we ask for feedback for prospects. Again, it's a similar boat, right? The thought is like, if at any point in time you guys don't feel like we, took that question that you asked to the next level and answered it fully and really dug in to make sure that you feel comfortable and confident to move forward, let us know. So it's that's another element of that credibility, is like standing on that. Like, I can't imagine this would happen, but if it was brought to me, for example, that a CS rep, account manager, somebody like that, basically was like, well, I answered the best I could, and we just got to leave it there. Like, what are we doing, right? Like, we'd have to reevaluate that and kind of figure out what's going on. I can't imagine something like that happen. So I think that goes in tandem directly with that credibility aspect and doing what you say what you do, under promising really, so you can over deliver for that.
Yeah, I think that's a great one. Non-negotiable is that you take feedback seriously, and that you're always willing to hear it, and that you're always willing to bring it to a resolution. And that's very valuable, because that is not always the case. So what happens behind the scenes that you feel like customers probably don't see, that you would want to share with your customer base or share with a prospective client?
I think the brainstorming, that would probably be number one. And basically, we have, our daily scrums, for example. I think the revolving connection that is not lost. Like, for example, just because, I'm more a part of the daily, the in and out as the CEO now. That doesn't mean that I don't talk to Asif and Z every single day unless like either one of us, is, out of town or something like that. There's still intimate connectivity, and the same goes with all of our vendors. Like that's something we really haven't touched on. Like our vendors need to meet, those same criteria so we can all provide that to clients. So it's just like the brainstorming activities and the solution work is definitely, a part of that when it comes to, how are you actually able to, like, if you're that customizable, kind of like what you're saying earlier, how can you do that? And we sometimes we might fall a little bit more short from what what we would like to be, but
Yeah.
we let folks know. I would say that's current state, right? That's probably current state, one of the biggest things. But I also think that there is an element of, you want to talk about like, Wizard of Oz behind the curtain. I mean, there's no better time to talk about this subject than now. I mean, I mentioned before 2026, right? I mean, we are headed into a world, whether somebody watching this, somebody hearing this might feel totally different than another person, but we're heading into AI. We're heading into that world where a lot of what we did in the past, think about it, pre-internet days, people were freaking out about that. It's like, so what do you do? Showing Hero AI is here. I mean, might as well let everybody know right now, it's here. So it's in beta. That is behind closed doors, inevitably, but that it's we're progressing it to be available where it's not just a walkthrough experience anymore. It's an experience where individuals real time can take the information that they know. And when I say individuals, I mean the prospect is going to have questions, but they want an asset of humans. But and we want to be able to answer that stuff at 1 o'clock in the morning, but we know we can't do that. So rather than those prospects having to go search on the internet, well, no, it's right there. It's still a phone call. It's a text. Maybe it's a chat bot, but all of that stuff is integrated into knowing about each one of our clients. So if that is known, and if all that information exists, well, then the AI can read that and literally have a conversation thereof. Did our dogs allow the property? They don't have to, read through meticulously through the listing, which some people just don't want to do. They're people more apt to call. We know this, right? Like tongue in cheek right now, right? They'd rather call and talk to a human about every little thing, but they can literally stay on a phone call or a text thread for as long as they want to get those answers. And that's where we're going. That's the foundation of the AI project, which is going to keep evolving. Version 2, version 3, where innately the entire offering is likely going to be Showing Hero AI, and the foundation is Showing Hero. So a little bit of a tangent there, and apologies, but I figure out now is as good as time as any to let everybody know, hey, it's here. And we're ready to roll. So
well, and the truth of the matter is if you're not constantly adjusting, growing, evolving, then there's going to be a new gap. And if you're not filling it, then people are going to look elsewhere. So just like you were saying, that Showing Hero was founded to bridge a gap. So you guys are actively continuing to bridge that gap, and times are changing, and that's like people don't read, they ask ChatGPT. So when you're able to bridge that gap, like people are going to stick with you. So I think that's a perfect answer to what don't your customers see, because they don't, like, if you're not constantly on top of that, then you're falling behind and you're not meeting the needs, and people don't see what happens behind the scenes. So I feel like it's important for them to know where you're at with that.
Part of me wishes they could, and part of me wishes they couldn't, because it's like, it might, like, it's not like we're, doing anything insane, like ritualistic or anything, but it's like, no, it's like it could freak you out with how much stuff we're actually having to try to digest all at the same time, and then push it out. Everybody can do it. Yeah.
Believe me, I get it. I get it. So this is our final question. What advice would you give someone trying to build credibility in their business?
I don't know if it comes from like the origins of like my education or how things have just transpired in my own life, but I can just talk about what I know and what I feel about this. I mean, I could try to speak for Z. Asif or any of our clients or even some of our partners and vendors. But from the seat that I'm in, it's just be real. Like right now, we're having a conversation, and obviously we want to get, we want to get some messaging out. We want people to know about what we're doing. But in the end, if it's a scenario where you're speaking with, whether it's a prospective business, a client, prospect themselves, and you can't just have a real conversation with them and just relate to each one of those individuals on a human level, in some way, shape, or form, you're likely going to miss the mark. And I don't want to be super negative about it, but it's a positive thing. If that is not organic to an individual that is in this space, or really any other space, even outside of property management, finding ways where you have the ability to just be real, literally tell somebody, hey, this might sound weird right now, but I'm just going to open up. I'm going to tell you like what I'm thinking right now. And if the reality is that you hate me after I say this, at least I'm being real with you. And have I ever had anybody, if I've said something like that, come back and say, hang up the phone or get off the meeting, the Zoom together? No, it's because you're opening up. You're showing you're being vulnerable, and you're saying like, I'm a human too. We're both humans. Let's have a human conversation. And it inevitably, like virtually, I feel like close to 100% of the time, that is what comes out in the wash in terms of being the best play. So yeah, I would say that hands down would be what I would suggest for folks.
I couldn't agree with you more. I feel like we're in an era right now where any Joe Schmo can create an account and get in front of people, and they can schmooze and they can do the used car salesman gig. And I think because anyone can do that, and because we have so much exposure to advertisements, we're constantly a target. We're constantly someone is always trying to sell us something. And so I think it's a huge breath of fresh air to just be authentic and to not schmooze. Like, I don't think it works. I think people can sniff it out, and I think people are sick of it. And so I think that was a slam dunk answer. I think that really goes way further than trying to look good or trying to look like it's all together. It's like, hey, human to human, I want to bridge this gap for you. How can I do it? And I'm going to be honest. And I don't think you can get any better than that. So
I feel like there have been moments, and I think we all have this, where someone's like, is this really you? Like, do you really talk that way? And if you get that question, or if I get that question, it's like, man, no, let's sit down. You'll find out that, like, other than maybe my wife, which, she might say, hey, you don't act like this at home. And it's like, but I do, but it's, like, how do I
there's
say
different versions.
Yeah.
For sure. Like, it would be weird if, I think there's a level of comfortability like that you could reach possibly, but I also do think people are, when they're nervous or they're on the spot or whatever, it's easy to like put on a protection or facade. But in general, I feel like the people that are building long-lasting businesses and foundations are the ones that can do what you just said and sit and have a real conversation, person to person. Leveling can be your superpower rather than trying to maintain a facade. And I think people are craving that in a world where they're constantly being advertised to, people are trying to sell to us all the time. And just, you don't even know what to believe anymore. So having authentic business relationships, even with where we're headed with AI and all of that, I think it's even more valuable now than it's been. So I love that.
Like, am I even real right now, or am I the perfect AI bot that you guys just created? No, I promise, guys, I'm real. Like,
seriously though, like when you start to have to look at videos and you wonder, like, is that? I don't know. I have no idea if that's real. Oh man, well, thank you so much, Frank. This has been so fun, and I appreciate your patience with me because this is our second episode. But you've been a wonderful guest.
No, I mean, I don't want to gas you up too much, but I mean, if you would have said this is your 200th, I wouldn't have understood the difference. I mean, you did an awesome job. This has been a ton of fun. I really appreciate it. It's been great. So thank you very much.
Trial by Fire is kind of my middle name. So I get it.
Awesome.
Where can people find you if they want to talk to you to schedule like a demo or to talk about Showing Hero?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you literally can just go to showinghero.com. You should be able to have demo requests
Okay.
that are right there and that are available. The sign up page is there as well. I mean, we can walk through folks that way, but literally, I mean, there might be a point where there could be a realm of being overwhelmed, and we'll figure that out if that does happen. It has happened at times, but I want people to be able to reach out to me directly as long as I can sustain it. So literally,
Yeah.
my email is frank@showinghero.com. If
Okay.
all else fails, you go to the site and you're like, I may or may not want to do a demo. I'm not sure, email me. Please reach out to me directly. I can, at worst case, I'll put you in contact with somebody and I'll try to field as much as I can. But no, that's really how we want to run things. We want people to know, like, this is what you can do. But yeah, the best case would be sign up for a demo request on showinghero.com, and then we would field it and get you set up as soon as possible to check everything out.
Awesome. We'll make sure all that's available too if you're like reading this blog or watching this video. But I sincerely appreciate your time. Thank you so much. What a great conversation. And I hope you take care, and maybe we'll have you on again when I've got a few episodes under my belt.
Absolutely. We'll see before and after, right?
Yeah, exactly. All right. Thank you so much, Frank.
Awesome. Thanks, Megan.